Getting started by way of outline, we'll have a brief introduction where we'll briefly review what has been discussed in the previous two lessons in this series. We'll look at some definitions of the word meek and how the biblical definition differs from a worldly view. We'll build a picture of meekness. We'll discuss characteristics of what it means to be meek, and along the way we'll answer a couple of questions. First, what does meekness have to do with God? Secondly, how does becoming meek and being meek glorify and promote the hallowing of God's name? We'll also look at a list of scriptures that we'll go through tonight that basically encourage us in meekness and gentleness. We'll look at a couple of biblical examples of meekness. And then we'll discuss the latter part of our lesson text tonight, where what it means to inherit the earth. Then we'll have a summary and a conclusion. Hopefully we have enough time, or I have enough material to get us through the time. But either way, it's quality, not quantity, right? All right. So by way of introduction, I personally thank the elders for this opportunity to study God's Word with you tonight. Tonight we will continue in our study of the Sermon on the Mount found in the book of Matthew. So far in this series, we've looked at the poor in spirit and those that mourn from Matthew chapter 5, verses 3 and 4 respectively. Just to provide a brief recap of what those lessons taught us, we found that there must be an emptying of our lives before there can be a filling. We must become poor in spirit before we can become rich in God's blessings. We also found that mourning our own sin drives us to God, where we find the true comfort that we need. Again, our lesson text for tonight is found in Matthew chapter 5, verse 5, which reads, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." So to give us a starting point for our lesson tonight, I would like to consider the definition of the word meek. Merriam-Webster says, having or showing a quiet and gentle nature, not wanting to fight or argue with other people. Over time, I would say that this definition of meekness has come to mean cowardly and even weak. Nelson's Bible Dictionary defines meekness as this: an attitude of humility towards God and gentleness towards men, springing from a recognition that God is in control. The Greek word for meek, praus, or praus, I hope I'm saying that correctly, indicates something a little different. This word gives us the idea of strength or power under control. Oftentimes the word was used to describe a soothing medicine, also used by sailors to describe a gentle breeze, and also used by a farmer to describe a horse or a wild animal that is tame. Of course, we realize that medicine doesn't become weak when it's used to heal. Wind doesn't become weak when it's used to sail a ship. And neither does the horse become weak when used to do farm work or allow people to ride on their back. The power of medicine, the power of the wind, and the power of the horse are tamed, harnessed, and used for a greater, more productive purpose. In a similar manner, man does not lose power when becoming meek. But when harnessed and used in the right way, meekness can be a powerful thing. So now that we've defined what meekness really means from a biblical point of view, we should ask ourselves this question: what does this beatitude have to do with God? So tonight that question would be, what does meekness have to do with God? The reason this question is important for us to answer is that we can't answer it. That if we can't answer it, then we cannot truly understand one of Jesus' aims for his Sermon on the Mount. Jesus said down in verse 16 of Matthew chapter 5 that, "Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven." Jesus preached the Sermon on the Mount so that God would be glorified through the way that we live. He wanted to create a lifestyle in his disciples, and thereby in us, that would make people think about God and his tremendous value. In Matthew chapter 6, and what we refer to as the Lord's Prayer, it says, "Hallowed be thy name." This was a priority of Christ's life, and it should be the priority and passion for us as well. So what does meekness have to do with God? How does becoming meek and being meek promote the hallowing of God's name? And helping us to answer this discover that meekness is a very beautiful thing, and in fact, has absolutely everything to do with God. So the first place we should go tonight to find out what meekness has to do with God is Psalms chapter 37. If you'd like to turn over there, we'll be spending a few minutes there in Psalms chapter 37. This is a good place to start because our lesson text is most likely an allusion to verse 11 of Psalm 37, which reads, "But the meek shall inherit the land, and delight themselves in abundant peace." Old Testament words for Psalms 37:11 and Matthew 5:5 are practically identical. Psalm 37:11 says inherit the land, and in Greek and in Hebrew that also means earth. So in order for us to find out what meekness means here in verse 11, we need to go back a couple of verses to the second half of verse 9, which says, "But those who wait for the Lord shall inherit the land." So our first conclusion that we can draw tonight is that those who are meek are people that wait for the Lord. But what exactly does it mean to wait for the Lord? Well, to answer that, we need to look back even a little further. Psalm 37, verse 5 through 8, which reads, beginning in verse 5, "Commit your way to the Lord, trust in Him, and He will act. He will bring forth your righteousness as the light, and your justice as the noonday. Be still before the Lord, and wait patiently for Him. Fret not yourself over the one who prospers in his way, over the man who carries out evil devices." Verse 8, "Remain from anger and forsake wrath. Fret not yourself, it tends only to evil." So who are these people who in verse 11 are meek, and in verse 9 wait for the Lord? Well, we find in verse 5 that they commit their way to the Lord. Verse 7 says they are quiet and still before the Lord. Do not fret over others who prosper. Then verse 8 says they refrain from anger and forsake wrath. So let us use what we read here in verses 5 through 8 and try to start putting together a picture or a portrait of those that are meek. First of all, we find in the latter part of verse 5 that the meek trust in God. Biblical meekness is rooted in the deep confidence that God is for us and not against us. They believe He will work for them and vindicate them when others prosper. Secondly, in the first part of verse 5, we find that meek people are those that commit their way to God. The Hebrew word for commit literally means to roll. Meek people often realize that God is trustworthy, so they roll their ways, their problems, their fears, their relationships, their everything onto God. They admit they are not sufficient to cope with the complexities and obstacles of life. They trust that God is able and willing to sustain, guide, and protect them. The first part of verse 7 tells us that meek people are quiet or still before the Lord and wait patiently for Him. So, first of all, we can tell that they discover God can be trusted. Second, meek people commit their way to the Lord. And thirdly, they wait patiently for God to work in their lives. Now, this does not mean that meek people are lazy. Meek people have a steady calm for knowing that God is all-knowing or omnipotent and has their affairs under control. There's a quiet steadiness about meek people's lives, even in the midst of turmoil and upheaval. The fourth thing we can see about meek people is mentioned here in the latter part of verse 7, is that they don't fret or worry about wicked people who prosper. Verse 8 even says they refrain from anger. Meek people put their family, their work, and their lives into God's hands, trusting and waiting for God's power and goodness to work things out for the best. So, consequently, obstacles and setbacks do not produce anger or bitterness that is common among many people today. So, this picture so far of meekness was created based on this parallel passage to our lesson text shows us that meekness, number one, begins with trusting God. Number two, getting its way to the Lord and having confidence in God's power to do good. Thirdly, waiting patiently and quietly for the outcome. Finally, it does not give way to anger or fretfulness, opposition, or setbacks come along. So in answer to our question posed earlier, what does meekness have to do with God? Clearly, meekness has everything to do with God, consists in a peaceful freedom from anger and is based on trusting God and rolling all of our ways onto Him and waiting patiently for the outcome. Before we move on to the examples of those in the Scripture who are called meek, I wanted to go through a few additional scriptures with us tonight that encourage meekness in God's children. And hopefully can add to our understanding of what meekness really means. The first one I would like to look at is in Galatians chapter 5. Galatians chapter 5, verses 22 and 23. This passage tells us that meekness or gentleness is a fruit of the Spirit. It reads, "But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such things there is no law." Secondly, I'd like to turn back and look at Ephesians chapter 4, verses 1 and 2. "I, therefore, prisoner for the Lord, urge you to walk in a manner worthy of the calling to which you have been called, with all humility and gentleness, with patience, bearing with one another in love." I'd also like to look at Colossians chapter 3, verse 12, which says, "Put on then as God's chosen ones, holy and beloved, compassionate hearts, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience." 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 11 says, "But as for you, O man of God, flee these things. Pursue righteousness, godliness, faith, love, steadfastness, and gentleness." 2 Timothy chapter 2, 24 and 25 reads, "And the Lord's servant must not be quarrelsome, but kind to everyone, able to teach, patiently enduring evil, correcting his opponents with gentleness." Titus chapter 3, verses 1 and 2 says, "Remind them to be submissive to rulers and authorities, to be obedient, to be ready for every good work, to speak evil of no one, to avoid quarreling, to be gentle, to show perfect courtesy towards all people." All of those verses mention the word either meekness or gentleness. I find those verses very encouraging as we continue to flesh out what it means to be meek. So now that we have this basic understanding of what meekness is, I'd like to continue to build and add detail to this picture of what it means to be meek by looking at some examples of those who are called meek in Scripture. What I found, the Bible only refers to two people as being meek. Find the first in Numbers chapter 12. If you'd like to turn over to Numbers chapter 12, we will be spending a few minutes there. Numbers chapter 12, beginning in verse 1 and going through verse 9. "Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses because of the Cushite woman whom he had married, for he had married a Cushite woman. They said, 'Has the Lord indeed spoken only through Moses? Has he not spoken to us also?' And the Lord heard it. Now the man Moses was very meek, more than all people who were on the face of the earth. And suddenly the Lord said to Moses and to Aaron and Miriam, 'Come out, you three, to the tent of meeting.' And the three of them came out. And the Lord came down in a pillar of cloud and stood at the entrance of the tent and called Aaron and Miriam. And they both came forward. And he said, 'Hear my words. If there is a prophet among you, I, the Lord, make myself known to him in a vision. I speak with him in a dream. Not so with my servant Moses. He is faithful in all my house. With him I speak mouth to mouth, clearly, and not in riddles. And he beholds the form of the Lord. Why then were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moses?' And the anger of the Lord was kindled against him, and he departed." If you continue reading on down through the rest of that chapter, you'll find out a little bit about Miriam's punishment for her actions. She's actually afflicted with leprosy right there on the spot. And even in all of Moses' and Aaron's pleadings, God did not take that leprosy away from her. But yet she was sent outside camp for 7 days, and she was about to come back after 7 days. And the Bible tells us that at that point, the Israelites continued on their journey. So in this passage we have Miriam and Aaron very upset with Moses for what appears, at least on the surface, to be an issue with him because of his wife. We find back in Deuteronomy chapter 7 that the Israelites were pretty much forbidden to marry anyone in the 7 nations that were surrounding the land of Canaan that they were about to inhabit. However, the Israelites were allowed to marry other foreigners, as we find over in Deuteronomy chapter 21, verse 10. From what I could find, since Cush is normally referred to as ancient Ethiopia, most interpreters feel that this is referring to possibly a second wife of Moses. You know that his first wife was named Zipporah and was a Midianite. However, it is this pretense that Miriam and Aaron used to bring their complaints to Moses. We quickly find out, however, that their real issue was a challenge to Moses' supreme authority. So as we consider Moses as an example of meekness, we can ask ourselves this question. How did Moses handle himself when Miriam and Aaron spoke out harshly against him? I find it interesting that right here in this spot where we would typically expect Moses to stand up and justify himself, right here in the spot between bitter opposition and God's vindication, God tells us that Moses is the meekest man on earth. The meekest man on earth has ever seen, and very quickly comes to his defense. Why do you think God chose to call Moses meek right here in this spot? To me, I think the point is that meekness means committing our cause to God and not needing to defend ourselves. Moses didn't say a word. Instead, just like we discussed from Psalm 37, Moses waited patiently for the Lord. He didn't fret over these critical words, and God quickly comes to his defense. So we can add one more quality to our portrait of meekness. And not only does it trust God and commits its way to God, meekness waits patiently for God and refrains from anger, but meekness refrains from revenge and defensiveness. Meekness loves to give place to wrath and leave its communication with God, just like we see here with Moses. Meekness is the power to absorb adversity and criticism without lashing back. Now let's talk about the second person that the Bible describes as being meek. Matthew chapter 11, verse 25 to 29. I can turn over there. Please spend a few minutes there. Matthew 11, verse 25 through 29 reads, At that time, Jesus declared, I thank you, Father, Lord of heaven and earth, that you have hidden these things from the wise and understanding, and revealed them to little children. Yes, Father, for such was your gracious will. All things have been handed over to me by my Father, and no one knows the Son except the Father, and no one knows the Father except the Son, and anyone to whom the Son chooses to reveal it. Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden. I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. Of course, we're talking about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ here. Verse 29 says, I am gentle and lowly in heart. The King James Version actually uses the word meek here in place of the word gentle. We find that Jesus is the perfect example of meekness. So if we want to truly learn to be meek, all we really need to do is follow Jesus and learn from him. That's a lesson that will take us a lifetime. Now I'd like to take a look at two events from Jesus' life that can help us understand meekness. John chapter 2, verses 13 through 16. The Passover of the Jews was at hand, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. In the temple he found those who were selling oxen, sheep, and pigeons, and the money changers sitting there. Making a whip of cords, he drove them all out of the temple with the sheep and oxen, and he poured out the coins of the money changers, and overturned their tables. And he told those who sold the pigeons, Take these things away. Do not make my Father's house a house of trade. So in this scene, Jesus goes to the temple to find that the people there had turned this place of of worshiping God into basically a flea market, right? Jesus certainly could have ignored what was taking place and gone about his way. But an attitude of meekness stands up for what's right. These people don't get back at others for doing wrong things to them, but they do what is right. They say what is right. Sometimes people do say things that go against God's will. The easy thing would be to pretend that we agree with him. The right thing to do is to tell the truth, and do so with kindness. Another event is in Colossians chapter 4, verse 6. It says, "Let your speech always be gracious, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how you ought to answer each person." So these people strive to do what is right in every situation, speaking kindly, graciously along the way. I'd like to take the next few minutes to share a few scriptures with you that talks about the next event in Jesus' life that really demonstrates his meekness. It's found in a number of scriptures, and I'll read through them and then we can discuss this Jesus' ultimate example of meekness. Isaiah chapter 53 verse 7 says, "He was oppressed and afflicted, yet he did not open his mouth. He was led like a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before its shearers is silent, so he did not open his mouth." Romans 5:8, God demonstrates his own love for us in this, that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Matthew 26:39 says, "Going a little farther, he fell with his face to the ground and prayed, 'My Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken from me, yet not as I will, but as you will.'" Finally, in Philippians chapter 2, verse 8, "And being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself by being obedient to death, even death on the cross." Now, of course, we realize that all these passages are talking about the crucifixion of our Lord and Savior Jesus. This is the ultimate show of meekness. Jesus is God. He didn't have to die. He chose to. He chose to follow God's will. Even when it was difficult, even when wicked people seemed to be succeeding in doing wicked things, Jesus stood up for what was right. He didn't yell or get mad. He just did his Father's will, knowing that the Lord makes everything work out for the best. In this case, it means our salvation. So at this point, let's step back and see if we can see this whole picture of meekness that we've been trying to put together tonight. Meekness begins when we put our trust in God. Then, because we trust him, we commit our ways to him. We roll onto him our anxieties, our frustrations, our plans, our relationships, our jobs, our everything. Then we wait patiently for the Lord. We trust his timing and his power, his grace, to work things out in the best way for our good, but ultimately, and more importantly, for his glory. The result of trusting God, rolling our anxieties onto him, and waiting patiently for him is that we don't give way to quick, fretful anger. But instead, like Moses, we give place to the wrath and hand our cause over to God. Let him vindicate us if he so chooses. And like Jesus, we stand up for what is right, but do so with kindness and humility. We surrender our will to the will of God, no matter how difficult that is, even to the point of death, as we see in the Lord's crucifixion. Meekness begins with God. Meekness ends with God. Therefore, whenever we see a person like that, we give glory. We give God the glory. In the name of Jesus, his Sermon on the Mount has been fulfilled. So at this point, I'd like to turn our attention to the second part of our lesson text. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. In my study, I read somewhere that Jesus' use of the language inherit the earth or land is thought to be traced back to the Old Testament view of the land of Canaan as the earthly object of divine blessings. Jesus used it in this sense, not to say that the meek would own great property or have many lands or great possessions, but they would possess unique blessings. The Jews also considered the land of Canaan as a type of heaven, and of the blessings under the Messiah. So, to inherit the land became an expression of those blessings. What Jesus means for us in this verse is that the meek shall be received into his kingdom and partake of its blessings, not only here, but in the heavenly kingdom thereafter. So another question we can ask ourselves is this: what effect does Jesus want his promise of inheriting the earth to have on his disciples? I think the answer is that he wants the promise to give us strength to continue in our meekness through no matter what the world throws our way. This is the way the promise works found in Matthew chapter 5, verse 12. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven. For so they persecuted the prophets who were before you. In other words, the promise of great reward gives us the strength to endure through persecution with joy. So I think the promise that the meek shall inherit the earth is intended by the Lord to give us strength to endure in meekness. And the natural inclination would be for us to defend ourselves or to retaliate or give way to fretful anger. There is also a passage in 1 Corinthians chapter 3 that can help us see how the promise of inheriting the earth gives strength to our meekness. Verses 18 through 23 of 1 Corinthians 3, Paul tries to help us overcome pride. The Corinthians were boasting in different teachers and in their worldly wisdom. The text says that no one deceive himself. If anyone among you thinks that he is wise in his age, let him become a fool, that he may become wise. For the wisdom of this world is folly with God. For it is written, he catches the wise in their craftiness. And again, the Lord knows the thoughts of the wise, that they are futile. So let no one boast in men, for all things are yours. Whether Paul or Apollos, or Cephas, or the world, or life, or death, or the present or the future, all are yours. And you are Christ. Christ is God's. Let's notice the logic there in verse 21 where it says, so let no one boast in men, for all things are yours. One of those things Paul referring to is mentioned there in verse 22, that is in the world. Paul is telling us not to boast because the world is ours. And that we don't need the vain pleasures of boasting because God has already made us an heir of the world. Through our obedience, faithful service to God, we are beneficiaries or heirs in the will of Christ. So as we try to wrap up this evening what it means to inherit the earth, let's take a look at one final message or one final passage. We're in Romans chapter 8, verses 12 through 17. Romans chapter 8, verses 12 through 17. So then, brothers, we are debtors, not to the flesh, to live according to the flesh. For if you live according to the flesh, you will die. But if the Spirit you put to death, the deeds of the body, you will live. For all who are led by the Spirit of God are sons of God. For you did not receive the spirit of slavery to fall back into fear, but you have received the spirit of adoption as sons, by whom we cry, Abba, Father. The Spirit himself bears witness with our spirit that we are children of God. Verse 17, children and heirs, heirs of God, and fellow heirs with Christ, provided we suffer with him in order that we may also be glorified with him. This particular passage tells us that we are the sons and daughters that God has adopted. The Holy Spirit is a witness that we have become God's children. We can call God Abba, Abba being the Aramaic word for father. This word shows the family love between father and child. Jesus used this word himself in Mark chapter 14, verse 36, when he was in the Garden of Gethsemane. It showed the close relationship between Jesus and his Father. Jesus even taught his disciples to think about God as Father when they prayed. In Luke chapter 11, verse 2. So as Christians, we receive similar benefits to children that have been adopted. We have the promise of God's property. Because he is our Father, we will share the glory of God's own Son, Jesus Christ. Christ suffered before he received his glory. so we must expect to suffer as well. But we have the promise of future glory. That is a wonderful promise and highlights what it means to inherit the earth. So, looking back at our outline, that really concludes our lesson tonight on what it means to be meek, or the meek, as mentioned in Matthew 5:5. Let's take a few minutes and look back over what we discussed. First, after a brief introduction, we looked at some definitions of the word meek. We discussed how biblical meekness is not the same as the way the world may view meekness. We talked about how meekness is power under control. Second, we built a picture of what it means to be what it means to be meek. In building that picture, we talked about characteristics of a meek person. Those characteristics being putting our trust in God, committing or rolling our ways to the Lord, and having confidence in His power to do good in our lives, waiting patiently and quietly for the outcome, and finally not giving way to anger or fretfulness, opposition, or setbacks come our way. Also, in building that picture, we answered the question, what does meekness have to do with God? We determined through looking at the parallel passage in Psalm chapter 37 that meekness has everything, absolutely everything to do with God. And third, we went through a list of scriptures that encourage us as Christians to be gentle and meek. Fourth, we looked at some biblical examples of meekness, highlighting Moses and our Savior, Jesus Himself. Lastly, we took a look at what it means to inherit the earth, discovering that as Christians we are heirs in Christ and have available to us all the blessings that God has to offer both here and in heaven. So as we close our lesson tonight, we have a little bit of extra time possibly, but as we close, I'd like to share something I came across in my study that in my opinion really sums up what meekness is for a Christian. We are meek only to the extent that we have surrendered our will to the will of God. The meek are those who quietly submit themselves to God, to His Word and to His rod, who follow His directions and comply with His designs, and are gentle towards all men, who can bear provocation without being inflamed by it, or either silent or return a soft answer, and who can show their displeasure there is occasion for it, without being transported into any indecency, who can be cool when others are hot, and in their patience keep possession of their own souls, when they can scarcely keep possession of anything else. They are the meek, who are rarely and heartily provoked, but quickly and easily pacified, and who would rather forgive 20 injuries than revenge one, having the rule of their own spirits. Be a few minutes short, but like I said, quality, not quantity, right? I would like to thank the elders again for the opportunity and for Tim for assigning me this subject. I trust that you've been encouraged by